Hi everyone, welcome to a very special Top 10. It's been a long time coming, but finally we're going to do, as voted for, Rachel's Top 10 games.
Hi.
Now, Rachel's got a lot to say, and we haven't got a lot of time to say it in. So, we're going to go as quick as we can to cram it all in. Rach isn't too comfortable talking about why she likes games.
No.
So I'm handling the what the game's about part, but we're gonna try and eke out what Rach likes about these 10 games. And yeah, let's see how it goes. Oh, and by the way, it's voted for by patrons. If you would like to vote on top 10s and playthroughs that happen and help the playthroughs keep coming, then it's patreon.com/slickerdrips. So number 10 is
Queen's Architect.
So Queen's Architect is a race game. I think maybe the only game on the list that there isn't a playthrough for yet. It's kind of a under the radar game a little bit. It's a race game where we are trying to build buildings around the city for the Queen, to impress the Queen the most, and you're trying to work your way up this favour track. Whoever gets to it first wins, so it's a race game. And you have these workers that are these little hexes that have values in each corner of the hex, and as they get used, they get rotated. So you sum up your workers with the right symbols for the building that you're building, and that's your value in terms of points that you move up and down this track on. Well, hopefully not down it. But they rotate when they move, and some just start off high, get lower, some start off bad and get better, and some kind of fluctuate in between. So you've got a time when you want to move these things or rotate them back with special actions and stuff. That's generally what Queen's Architect's about. So why do you like it, Rach?
I guess it's just I like race games. That's one of my favourite types of games.
You tend to win race games.
Yeah, I like forward planning. Normally, there's I plan one way to get there, and I tend to manage to stick to that. I like you've got to plan very carefully when you're gonna buy those people. How much are they worth to you? Do you want to buy them further down and get more action? Is it more actions further down?
They cost less.
No.
They cost less as they move down.
Less actions, isn't it? The more you pay, you pay, the more actions you get, and as it goes down, you pay less, but you get less actions.
That's a nice little extra twist, because usually it's just a track of you just pay less because it's the one at the front. But yeah, you are getting more for your money buying further back on there.
Yeah.
And yeah,
there's to zip around in your little car.
Yeah, and it's
the city.
It's a rondelle as well that you like famously.
Rondelle,
you're picking whether to do a building, and it's getting money, and there's a pub that you can send workers to, and you pay to move all your workers of that type back, maybe to a better number that they were just at. But even in that, you're restricted that you can only turn back certain types of workers one at a time. You can't just repeatedly go to the pub and turn those back.
And then you can't do those next time you go around.
Yeah.
It's like they go up and you have to wait again before you can do those.
Yeah, it's a really great system.
Nice little planning.
Yeah, there isn't really
system.
I don't think there's really anything like that. That's a really nice worker system, and it's always got nice presentation from Queen Games, and for some reason just slipped under the radar. I can't remember what year it's from now. Is it from 2016, 2017?
I don't know.
But yeah, needs some more attention. Needs some big refund. Needs an expansion. Why not? But it doesn't need an expansion. It's really good without it. But Queen's Architect, Rach's 10th favourite game of all time.
All time.
Number 9 is
Among the Stars.
So Among the Stars is a game where we're trying to build space stations. We're all trying to build the best space station. It's a game with all of these square cards that you'll start out with just a hub of your space station, and then through drafting cards we will pick new rooms for them, and they have different costs in money. Sometimes they have energy costs, and they need to be within a certain space of an energy station to use cubes off that station, and they'll mainly have variable scoring on, like this one wants to be surrounded, this one doesn't want to be next to reds, that kind of thing. And so there's a lot of as well as a good drafting game like Seven Wonders or something, you have the spatial planning of where you're going to spread your space station out, how you're going to link up all of these scoring things. And you might know it as Fields of Green as well. It was re-implemented and tweaked a fair bit as Fields of Green, where you're doing a very similar thing but with a farm instead. And Among the Stars got expanded quite a bit as well. We've got
leaders.
I hope a lot for it. Yeah,
leaders.
yeah. It's got leaders. It got like a special 2-player one. I can't remember. Is that Rivalry? No, that's a Roll for the Galaxy expansion. But yeah, Revival, I think it was. Revival, not Rivalry. But yeah, tons and tons of stuff for it. A kind of bulging box full of things that makes it very, very different, and adds a load of stuff like the leaders that give you special powers through every game. And so what do you like about Among the Stars so much, Rach?
I like a tile placement game, although it is technically card placement, I guess. I'm quite surprised it's so high up because I don't really like card drafting.
No, you don't.
Because I don't have very good memory, so I tend to struggle to plan if there's quite a few of us playing. But if it's just us two, I know I can remember what's coming round. And I like a space theme. Love space themes.
Yeah, you didn't like Fields of Green as much.
No.
Although
I would choose Among the Stars.
I liked in Fields of Green how it had certain decks for certain types of cards, like ones that would be good at getting you resources and points and things. And at the start of the round, you could draw from whichever decks you wanted. So based on where you are in the game, you got to kind of guide your play a little bit. Whereas Among the Stars doesn't have that because it came first. So it's a bit more random in what you're going to get, but you've still got to make the most of the stuff that you end up drafting. But yeah, for some reason, Among the Stars drafting works for you a lot better than... Because even in games like Agricola, say, even 2 players, you are drafting a lot of cards in Agricola, all in one go. But yeah, there's nice 2-player variants. So in that Revival game, it had a variant where all of the cards, you've got a display in the middle that you buy from rather than drafting the cards. But there is, I can't remember it was a Board Game Geek user that came up with the main 2-player way where you have 2 extra decks and every time you draft, you take some cards away and add some different in as if to simulate like that other people were taking things away. So it works really well as a 2-player game as well. Hopefully that'll come back because that's been quite a while now since anything's come out for that. There is plenty for it, but I just want all of these things to get more attention. Mm-hmm. This is Hidden Gems. Top 10 as well.
Top 10.
So number 9 is Among the Stars. Number 8 is...
Suburbia.
Suburbia is a tile laying game where we're trying to build cities, kind of more SimCity style, where you've got, the industrial, residential, commercial type buildings. And similarly, I guess, to Among the Stars, all of these tiles have different scoring things that they will reward you with money, or you've got a balance between your population and reputation, isn't it? So yeah, population is your score. You want population all the time, but reputation is your income.
Because you score you score the lowest?
No, not in this. It's just about your population, but your reputation is your income for every round. So it's got a nice kind of holding back the leader mechanism, whereas on the scoreboard you go through these gates every time you get to a certain amount of population, and that knocks your population and reputation back. So as you are climbing these things, you are earning a bit less in population and reputation, to the point where you can be losing population and reputation at the end of every turn instead. But yeah, tons of different expansions for it that added the border tiles that are like great big things that attach to your hexes, kind of making it more like a blockbuster kind of city that's a lot more powerful, usually more expensive, but can give you much greater powers that you can attach loads of different things to and kind of surround your city. The 5 stars expansion added tiles with stars on that added kind of a player order system that's in the normal game. It's just first player starts and you're buying tiles from a market that just slides down. The one furthest to the right is you don't have to pay anything extra for, and the further up there on the market, you've got to pay more than the face value for. But the 5 star, added turn orders, and they all had there's special goals that we're all reaching for. There's some public ones, some private ones, loads of different ways that it can go. And it's got a super deluxe Kickstarter remastered edition with all new art and game trays and stuff that's all beautiful. But have I done a playthrough for Among the Stars? I don't know if I've done one for Among the Stars now, but there is definitely one for Suburbia and New Suburbia as well. There's playthrough for everything in the original game and then the new game with the fancy new nightlife expansion. So what do you like so much about Suburbia, Rach?
Again, tower placements. I don't know. You can just plan really well. You can see what's coming. I prefer sort of that system to Castles of Madkin Ludwig. We were talking about that, weren't we? Sort of the tile buying system there is you have the master builder and you can sort of strategically make things cost certain amounts, whereas in
it's
Suburbia,
one player's job. In Castles, it's one player's job every turn to decide what the price of everything is. And it's a cool system because everybody else pays their money to the master builder, and then they go last, but we'll have hopefully a load of money coming in from those tiles. But yeah, you don't really like being the master builder. I don't think you find when you're not the master builder, but yeah, when you have to decide how much that's worth to everybody.
To everyone, I don't care about anybody else's castles. Yeah. Whereas in Suburbia, I can just focus on mine.
It's just a track in Suburbia, and stuff is getting cheaper as people buy things.
You have to keep a close eye, I guess, like a tiny bit of an eye on. So, like, I'd have to watch what Tom's perhaps building, because if I think, I could wait a turn and buy that next turn for a bit cheaper, but Tom's going for that colour building as well, that type of building, then perhaps I need to pay a bit more and get it now. So it's got a little bit of planning in like that. But yeah, I prefer. I like
And
Suburbia.
there's circumstances where you might take lakes or you take other tiles that need you to discard tiles from that market, and that's when that comes into play again. That's you probably want to discard something that somebody else wants rather than something that nobody cares about. And you can do that across the market as well, but you have to pay that cost. On the higher valued tiles, you have to pay the extra cost to be able to discard those tiles. So you're weighing that up as well.
Yeah, and then the borders sort of bring in like an extra little thinky thing about it, because that gives it sort of a shape, so you can only put them in a certain orientation. So then you've got to really carefully plan out the sort of shape of the city that you're building as well. You can't just go all one way in a very strange shape. You need to keep it in a nice
if you get a few of the borders, you can box yourself in too much as well and be like too restricted to how you're going to build. Yeah. But yeah, I like that kind of probably informed the frame that you have around your castle in Castles of Mad King Ludwig's expansion. I think that works brilliantly in there as well, especially since some of the tiles are massive in castles, and so building that border can really fence you in there as well. Mm-hmm. But it's all about Suburbia for you, isn't it?
It is all about Suburbia. It just looks really nice as well. I love the artwork.
In the new version?
Yeah.
Or both versions?
Both.
Both was nice.
Both.
But the new one is very fancy and beautiful. And wooden pieces and game trays that you have out on the board to help you choose all of the stuff. It's really well done. But normal Suburbia is fantastic too. And that's why it's the number 8, is it?
8.
The number 7 is...
Roll for the Galaxy.
So Roll for the Galaxy is all about discovering new planets, settling them, and researching new technologies, producing goods on the planets that you settle, and shipping them off for money to do more stuff, or points to try and win with, which is the description also of Jump Drive, Race for the Galaxy, and New Frontiers. But with Roll for the Galaxy, I guess we're doing it with dice. So everyone has some dice in a cup to begin with that they are going to roll, and similarly to roll selection in all of those other games, one of those dice you will designate as your lead dice. I'm sure it's got a name, but you will pick that thing to happen, whether it's settling or developing or producing things. And all of your other dice can go under the other columns. You can customize what the one that's picking the roll is, though. It doesn't have to be that face, but everything else you have to put in their matching columns. You have some manipulation powers, and you get more as the game goes on, but generally they just go in the columns of what you rolled. And so you are definitely going to activate the one that you are making happen, but the other players are also going to make one of the phases happen as well. So if they do activate that one, then all of your dice in that column are going to activate too, for getting new planets and getting money and stuff. And in a 2-player game, there's one die that's rolled with the expansions. There's 2 dice that make more phases happen because there's less of you doing stuff. And then the expansions. So the first expansion, I can't remember the name of now, just added more stuff, just more tiles. It added goals.
Is that the different colour dice one, or was that the same?
Oh, it did add like the leader dice, aren't they? Where they will pay for themselves when they roll certain faces, and it mainly had goals, like end game goals that we can, or they weren't end game goals, you raced for them. So like certain criteria you wanted to meet. And then the rivalry expansion added 2 great big new ways of playing, with kind of a special huge die that you changed the faces of, kind of like is it Rattlebones? Yeah, it's that system, isn't it, where you ping the faces off them and completely customize this special dice you have based on the way that you're playing. Added more goals and things. It added the other main module was the trade module, where you had a board on where you could trade certain dice for other things and trade them for points and give them up completely out of the game. But all of that was customized based on these trade dice that got rolled, which weren't customizable, but you had to build them the same way at the beginning. But yeah, tons and tons of stuff for Roll for the Galaxy now. So why Roll for the Galaxy, Rach?
Well, dice, obviously. Something really satisfying about shaking that cup of dice.
Yeah, having the cup for it definitely adds to it for some strange reason.
You've got like every choice that you make is like private as well. It's behind like your little board, so you can't like see what anyone else is gonna do. So you've got that sort of, you got to decide what's the most important thing for you again, and you might get to do the other things. I just think that's a nice little part of it.
Yeah, because if you've just put dice in a thing that doesn't get activated, they just go back to your cup as well. And because you have to pay to put new dice back in your cup at the end of every round, so managing your economy is important as well. So some rounds you'll have a ton of dice, some rounds you'll probably just have one, because you always have one money to play with, so it won't just leave you completely stranded. But what about all the iconography of all of these games, Rach? It holds people back from learning them, but I don't remember you having that.
Just makes sense.
You'd played Race for the Galaxy, I think, but probably only once.
The icons, then you're fine. Like I can remember, Settle is the circle, Develop is the diamond.
I think Roll
strange.
I think Race is probably the one that's got the fewest, the least amount of text on it.
I wonder if it's the dice, because you're rolling dice and stuff, and those icons are always there.
You're always
and you have
seeing
to
those
sort
symbols.
them to the symbols. Then maybe that helps you remember the symbols.
And there is there's text on all of the developments and stuff. Oh, that's a cool thing that's exclusive to Roll as well. That the tiles that you are drawing from the bag, the settlements and developments are. They're all double-sided. One side is a settlement, one side is a development. So as you are searching for this new stuff, you're deciding which side it's going on. But then you've got the added thing of it has to go at the bottom of those piles. So you can't just find the perfect settlement and do that one next. If you've got a load of other ones, you've got to plough through those first. But you can still discard them to draw more tiles. There's a lot of flexibility with. It's not just a completely random draw from that bag and you get what you're stuck with. But recently, we've only played New Frontiers in the last probably month or so. But we really enjoyed that as well. Yeah. It hasn't got dice though, so it's not going to eclipse.
I think
Roll for the Galaxy.
Like that game, I guess, like the series of games we should say. But I definitely think Roll for the Galaxy, definitely the best one out of the four of them.
Yeah, especially with all of the stuff that's out for it now. With especially I can't remember the name of the module, but the module where you are customizing that die is just fantastic.
And all the colourful dice. Why wouldn't you want all those colourful dice that you can just play with? Just loads of dice.
So that's why Roll for the Galaxy is number 7. So number 6 is
Nations.
And Nations is a great big civilization building game. It's kind of, if you've played Through the Ages, it's a similar system to that, where there are tons of little cards that we will buy from a display and add them to our civilization that will give us different abilities. So you have a player board that's got a few on to begin with, probably getting you some military, getting you some money, and as a turn you can take more cards, or you can place your population one by one on those cards, and so for every population at the beginning, it'll give you one military, for example, that will help you get conquering cards in the future or start wars and stuff. The wars are kind of handled differently, like you're not attacking each other in it. Say I've got 5 military and I start a war goes on the military track at 5, and if everybody then has a chance to get their military to that level, and if your military is 5 or above, fine, war doesn't affect you whatsoever. If you're lower than it, then it will usually cause you to lose some kind of resource and a point or two. But then there's a stability track that's a separate thing that is increased by buildings as well, that will prevent that resource loss. The more stability that you've got, it can negate all of that. You still lose the point though, but it makes it not such a direct attacking thing. It affects everybody, and you've got ways around it. There's difficulty levels as well, so if you're playing with more experienced people, all it affects is the number of resources you earn per round, but it's nice that it can kind of level that playing field a little bit, and It's got an expansion that added tons more nations, but also added special things to each nation. It's turmoil, isn't it? Where you have these special abilities that you start with on your player mat. You start with one, but then you have cards for other special abilities, and you can replace them later on at the cost of going into turmoil. And it added a load more cards. There's so many huge stacks of these cards to the point where, the variety can be endless, but also the kind of the prevalence of like wars and stuff can change based on how you've shuffled the cards and things. But yeah, great big look through time at your great big civilization. So what do you like about Nations, Rach?
I don't really. I really like playing it. It's just again another plan one really, and like we tend to play without. We don't really start wars, as you can probably guess.
No.
But we have played it with people that enjoy starting wars, and we didn't find that it was a major problem. In fact, it didn't really pay off for those people.
No, it's just it's just something new that you need to think about, rather than something that you're gonna like lose loads of stuff at. It's like the surprise. I can't remember. I think we played Through the Ages once, but like the surprise events that happen in Through the Ages that people seed that deck. So someone has put in is it rats that makes people lose a load of things. That affect everybody, but it's a kind of surprise when it happens that it's just drawn from the deck. And I suppose someone can start a war really late in the round.
You know what's coming in Nations, like you can see what's going to happen.
And you can even...
You know what you need.
If you are... if you just haven't gone for military at all, in fact, there's at least one nation that doesn't even start off with a military card. You can, if you want to, it's costing you a turn and maybe some money, you can take the war card straight away, even if you've got no military, and then... Only one war can be started each round, and the military value is 0. So it basically just takes away any chance of that happening to you. But even if one happens, there's loads of mitigation for it. That it's not really that bad a thing.
Yeah, and again, the expansion just adds a load of variety. So depending on what nation you are, that's perhaps going to change sort of the cards that you're going to aim for, and
it changes your starting buildings a lot as well.
Yeah, so how are you going to play the rest of the game? So it's quite nice to have that. Like variety in the different options there. Just really like, and it looks nice as well. It does look really nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
maybe a downside is that it comes in an enormous box.
It's massive.
It is just. I suppose the boards, some of the boards that you're playing on do justify the size of that box, but especially for a game that's got tiny cards.
It's just nice as well seeing like the events and things, and like all these great leaders coming up that you can buy, and they'll help you lead your nation, and you get all these inventions and buildings that you get to buy, and it's just nice, like shaping up your little nation.
There's 4 different ages as well, and the cards kind of build up over those ages, and you can see kind of how things have, how you evolved things and how you changed your buildings around. And it's a different game technically, but there's Nations, the dice game, that is just designed by Rustin, one of the, I think there's 3 designers to Nations, and he designed the dice game by himself, but that is also a really fantastic kind of distillation of it. You don't remember it as much. Well, that's really fantastic as well. And the expansion to that added loads as well, the Unrest expansion. I don't think Nations definitely has a playthrough. That is a solo playthrough from quite early on in the channel, I think. But the dice game needs some love too, because that's fantastic. But Nations is Rach's pick for number 6. Number 5 has got a playthrough quite recently, actually, that stars Rach. And what is it?
It's Augustus.
Augustus is Roman bingo. You have a few cards in front of you that want certain symbols on them, and you have legionnaires that are these Roman meeples. And there is a bag, there is a town crier that is going to draw a tile from the bag every round and announce what it is, whether it's daggers or shields and things. And then say it's shields, everybody can put one of their legionnaires on a shield symbol on their cards. As soon as you've covered up all the symbols on your card, that's completed, you get a new one, and you'll get some points, or you'll get some abilities to, treat shields as if they were swords whenever they come up, and vice versa, or have more cards in front of you, or unlock more legionnaires so you're free to kind of split it across cards more and more, because you don't have that many to start off with, or just get you straight points. So, Rach, what is it about Augustus? I like Augustus, but something about Augustus.
I don't know what it is about Augustus. I just love it. And I love bingo. Although I haven't ever been to play bingo, betting money. But I don't know, just something about it. I like the Roman theme. That might be part of it. But there is some thinky bits to it. So like, you've got the scoring card where if you're the first person to complete a certain number of cards, you can take the tile for that number. But once you've taken one, then you can't take another. So if you wait ages and ages thinking you're going to get the complete 6 cards first, then somebody like beats you to it and snatches it, you're not going to have a card because you can't go back and take the 5 card. The 5 tile, so I don't know, just little bits of thinky things there.
Yeah, we tend to like the bingo style games as well. Like Augustus is definitely more bingo than most of them. But My City we were playing the other day. Any game where it's like draw a card or draw a tile or something, and then everybody does that same thing, but they can, they go their own way after that instruction. Everyone's placing the same tile on their board, but where is completely up to you. They work really, really well.
I guess it's like a kind of a race game, but like a random race game, because it's also got like first person to do 3 green cards, city cards.
Yeah.
First person to do 2 pink. I can't remember the number exactly.
Yeah.
One
and
was 2.
It's been updated. That there's a playthrough coming at some point soon for it. It's been updated and kind of had some of the maybe more complicated bits. It's not that complicated, but it's had some bits streamlined out of it to make it more of a family game, and it's been rethemed as Via Magica.
Yeah.
That's kind of
artwork's lovely.
Yeah, of wizards going to school.
Yeah, wizards, and you're making
thing.
potions and you're collecting your ingredients. Also a really nice theme, but I think
you didn't like it as much as Augustus.
Less scoring, I guess, scoring options.
Yeah, there's some. Well, Via Magica hasn't got any of the attack cards, which, to be honest, I took out of. Well, we've never played it in Augustus. They've been taken out of the deck and are just loose in the box, I think. But they're out of Via Magica, and also there's a majority for gold and wheat. Some cards that you'll complete will have a picture of gold or wheat on them, and whoever has the most of those at the end of the game gets some extra points, and that's kind of left out of Via Magica, and you missed that.
I don't know, just something extra. I never really win the majorities, I don't think.
No, you just
I just like it there.
You're an Augustus purist.
Just like
you don't want anything
just
stripped
like
out of it. So that's number 5, Augustus. Number 4 is
Kanban.
So Kanban is a Vital Lacerda game, maker of quite complicated, hard to get to grips with games, but very satisfying once you do. It's about car manufacturing. Where we are working on a production line, basically. There's all these various departments of getting the design, getting the body, getting the parts for it, testing it on the test track, and the place where your car will actually come out of the production line. And we are going to these places and spending a certain amount of time. That's a certain amount of actions that you have. It's worker placement along this this strip based on the department that you're in. There's a certain number of action spaces. Some will give you more time than others, so more actions. There's also research in all of the departments that you're trying to go up for. There's rewards for getting to the top of those tracks. But probably the key thing to Kanban is Sandra, that you have a boss that is roaming around the board, that is going from department to department, evaluating that department. And there's 2 modes. So to begin with, you're encouraged, I believe, to play Nice Sandra, who will reward the player who is highest up on the research track in that department. But the main way to play it, I think, I might be making this up, but I think Vital said the main way to play it, the intended way of playing it, is Bad Sandra.
Sandra's having
Nasty
a bad
Sandra.
day. Having a bad day.
Who rather than rewarding the best player, will punish the worst player in that department instead. So it's even more about not being the lowest on those research tracks when you're playing with Nasty Sandra. And there's a very unique thing in the meetings that happen every so often in the game that kind of have a variable. It's not like there's just rounds in. Well, there is rounds in Kanban that everybody places, then everyone takes their actions. But it's not like after X amount of rounds there will be a meeting. It's kind of after the car has gone round the test track a certain number of times, and after a certain amount of days, once those 2 things have happened, it like triggers these meetings. And over the course of the game, you will accumulate chairs that go into this meeting room, and you have meeting cards as well. You have a little pool just to yourself that will score for the number of yellow cars that you have, the number of cars that you've upgraded the transmission on, things like that. And so in the meeting, and brilliantly thematic, like loads of Vitals games are like this, that in the meeting you spend chairs to tell Sandra about what you did. So one you will play, and you don't even have to talk about that. You just have to play a card into the meeting. But when you put a chair on it, you are telling Sandra about how many transmissions that you did, and she'll reward you number of points for how many you did there, up to a maximum. But then other players can spend we just go round and round in the meeting. Other players can spend a chair on your topic that you brought up, but for every person that talks about it, their maximum points is reduced because Sandra's not as excited about hearing about another person doing that. So I really like that extra bit of theme in it as well. But I think that's pretty much Kanban. It's got as well a fancy new Kanban electric vehicles edition, for bringing it in line with the Eagle Griffin Deluxe Vital Lacerda games, and it's going to have a proper solo mode as well, and new Ian O'Toole art and stuff. Really, really excited about that. But this is supposed to be your top 10, Rach. What do you like about Kanban?
I don't know. I just like. I don't get
because
planning.
you don't like.
I don't get on with Vital games.
I wouldn't say dislike, but you just
too hot.
Yeah.
Like,
They give
me a headache. They give me a headache, and I mean like a proper physical headache because it's. I can't see the system, whereas, which is strange because, for example, in the Gallerist, it's a nice little circle thing, and you could almost go round. Go round.
I would say the Gallerist.
It makes sense, but to me, that it doesn't make sense, which is really weird because Kanban's this conveyor belt, and the order of things aren't in the order that you would ideally do them either, are they? It's very strange.
No, it is strangely laid out in some ways, the board in it.
But it makes
maybe
sense
for learning.
to me.
But
maybe it's because it's the first one I'd played.
I think it maybe makes more sense because it is a production line, and even though I don't think either of us could care less about cars, the actual it makes sense to you that, okay, well, we got the design, then we get the parts to make it, now we're going to go and upgrade this thing, so we need to now get the car off the production line, and then we need to test it. You don't do it in that order, because, you need to go to different places at different times. But,
technically,
it makes sense in that way.
should be one that I like, because, I like the theme of art galleries, and it's got nice artwork in it, but I just love Kanban, and we've got original Kanban, but getting the little car pieces as well, I want that body, and it looks really nice, and I don't know, it just looks really nice as well. Yeah,
there's loads of nice touches there. I'm a fan of pretty much all of the Lacerda games really, but I'd probably still put Kanban at the top for multiplayer anyway. Solo can't really judge because it hasn't got a Vital designed solo mode yet. But there is something very special about Kanban. And I think it is that production line thing, and the meetings is.
And then when you make a really nice car and it scores really well, it's yes, worth it.
The meetings is something that I don't think is really in other games that I can think of anyway. And certainly Sandra is an amazing touch as well. The idea, it's another thing that hammers home the theme that there is a boss kind of roaming around, and if you know where she's going to go next round. So it suddenly becomes a panic that, she's going to go to the place where I'm worst at. Yeah. Maybe I need to go there right now and just get some research done and give up whatever I wanted to do so that I don't, incur the wrath of Sandra. But I would, when I brought kind of Gallerist in and Escape Plan, I thought they were going to be, okay, well, this is not necessarily, it is lighter. They're still pretty involved games. But I would have thought, easier to get into, easier to learn. But there's something magical about Kanban that just clicks for you that it doesn't about the others.
I don't know what it is.
But it makes up for it that it's like your fourth favourite game of all time. I think it was in my top 10 as well. It's a fantastic game, Kanban. Number 3, a little known game that needs a little bit more attention.
Gloomhaven.
Here it is. You can see it a little bit more now. It's kind of sitting
only
apart.
Number 3.
Yeah, only number 3, surprisingly. Gloomhaven, if you haven't heard, is this great big dungeon crawling game where we're adventurers that we're not so much friends. We've kind of come together to earn a load of money. You'll each have an individual character from these starting classes that have a retirement goal that want to accumulate gold or kill a load of particular enemies, and you're going on a great big campaign. There's like 95 scenarios in the book. Not that you'll do every one over the course of your game. Some get locked off, and it's up to you how many side quests you want to go on. But it's kind of like that big Skyrim video game experience in a board game, and the actual gameplay of it is a really not so much complicated, but a really brain-burning, beautiful puzzle of everybody has a unique set of cards based on the class that they are, and on your turn you need to play 2 of your cards. Your cards are split into a top action and a bottom action. You'll play the top action of one card and the bottom action of the other card. And it's all about that kind of thought of how you're going to organise this, because there's imperfect information. You don't know what order you're going to go in necessarily. You don't know what the other people are exactly going to do. So you have to kind of wing it a little bit, and you are allowed to change. You aren't set in stone, I'm going to do the top of this and the bottom of the other. You can change what you're going to do, and all of the cards are kind of, they can do a basic action like attack or move with all of your cards. So there's a lot of flexibility in that way. And your characters will level up. They have modifier decks, so when they attack, they draw from this modifier deck, and it's going to be plus or minus or miss or double. And you get to customize those decks as you level up. You get new cards into your hand. Your hand size never changes, but you get a new card to add to your pool as you level up. They get stronger and stronger. And I don't want to say any spoilers and stuff, but there's loads of hidden extras in Gloomhaven as well, where there's more classes, for example, that you will unlock over the course of the game that all play completely differently. But I wouldn't go on too long about it. Find loads of top 10s and first impressions I've done about Gloomhaven where I've gone on and on and on about what it's like.
Is it still your most first top 10?
Yes. Yeah, still. It's the point where I need to stop talking about it in top 10s. Just take it as a given that Gloomhaven's going to be on there. But, Rach, what do you like about Gloomhaven?
Probably the same things that you like it for, but I don't know. Yeah, done. That's it now. That's it.
It's one of the games that we've played the most.
Yeah, and we've played it, just us two. We probably played about 40 scenarios of our campaign.
Yeah, at least.
Maybe 50.
Probably at least 20 odd in a 4-player
yeah, and then
scenario.
We played it as a 4-player.
We just played all the way through Jaws of the Lion as a 3-player and then 4-player towards the end. Yeah.
And some improvements in Jaws of the Lion, I think, as well. I think definitely the book that has got...
Yeah, it's got a instead of there's tiles normally in Gloomhaven, and the Jaws of the Lion's got a scenario book that is kind of, I don't know if it's confirmed. I think Isaac's certainly looking into retroactively making those add-ons to Gloomhaven and the upcoming Frosthaven.
Yeah, there's a lot of setup, isn't there, and things like that. Which that's fine, but when we think about playing Gloomhaven again, I think
yeah, it's a big
start again, and I'm looking forward to Frosthaven. Yeah, definitely.
It's a big thing to kind of get set up and have out. That was the thing that when we were in our 2-player Gloomhaven play, it was pretty much always out on the table until I needed to film something, and then we would put it on the sofa or something, and it would be right back here because we were going to be playing it constantly. So it is one of those big commitment games. Although there are people that have been playing it, once a week, once every 2 weeks, and they're just getting to like the end of their story now. So it's definitely doable. Yeah. It's just we kind of like...
I feel like we'd have to start again.
Yeah.
We couldn't just pick up our scenario, like our playthrough from where we left off. It's been a couple of years now.
Yeah, it was much better remembering all of the stuff that we were doing and all of the stuff that we were unlocking. Again, don't want to spoil anything, but yeah.
I feel like for me, that's like
there and remember
why it's not number one is because I think like all these games are games that I would play again and again, and I would love to play Gloomhaven again, but the thought of getting that back out, I don't want to do it. But we've played Jaws of the Lion, and I loved it. So again, that's more Gloomhaven, and I've got Gloomhaven Digital, and I can't wait for the scenarios to be put on there, like the full proper.
Yeah, because at the moment it's its own. It's got its own mode, hasn't it? It's a Guildmaster.
Guildmaster, yeah.
And you play through kind of a campaign where you'll unlock the classes and things like that.
And,
but there is the whole campain, I think, of Gloomhaven is come into it next year. Yeah, and they've just gone into a beta, haven't they?
Yeah.
For
multiplayer,
for online multiplayer, which again is another massive thing for it.
So I love Gloomhaven. I love the artwork. The story's great. The characters, like the classes that you can be, like all play in their own unique way. Just Just a great game, really.
So that's number 3,
Yeah.
Gloomhaven. Number 2 is...
Trajan.
So, Steffenfeld. First mention of Steffenfeld. Surprised there wasn't more
I was
of him in your top
surprised.
10.
I was also surprised that this wasn't number 1. But when I think about it, yeah, I'm not surprised.
So, we really like Steffenfeld games, but Trajan, it's my favourite as well. I'm pretty sure this was in my top 10. So Trajan is... it's one of the games where there's all these kind of different mini games going on around the board. So we're Romans, we're trying to impress the Emperor Trajan by conquering new territories, by building roofs, I think, by advancing in the Senate, by completing these Trajan tasks. So the main thing on your player board is this, it's not a rondel, is it? It's Mancala, yeah, where every turn you have all of these little pegs in bowls.
In lovely colours.
Yes, and you will pick up all of the pieces in one bowl, and then going clockwise, one by one, you'll drop them off in other bowls. Where your last one ends up is the action that you're going to be taking. And you will have Trajan tiles in certain bowls as well, that if you can make certain configurations of colours end up in this bowl, when you activate that action, you get the bonus from the Trajan tile, whether it's points or whether it's more meeples going out to the various areas that need them, or special abilities. There are events, there are bad things that we need to prepare for at the end of every round that are slowly revealed bit by bit through the round, and Trajan tiles help you, as well as other things. They can help you mitigate that, because you'll lose a load of points if you haven't prepared for those. But yeah, it's all about kind of planning in that Mancala and which areas you're going to focus on as well. There's fishing that you can go and I don't know if it's fishing actually. There's gathering resources and then sending them off on boats. It's not fishing. But yeah, loads and loads of kind of different point salady mini sections on the board that yeah, really come together through that Mancala thing. So why do you like Trajan so much, Rach?
Well, first of all, Romans.
Yeah.
Obviously. I just love the Mancala, like dropping things. Again, it's planning, but I haven't really got to worry about anybody else getting in my way, so I can just focus on me. I think it's like, as well, you got to think about really where you're going, because you can't go everywhere. If you go everywhere, you're probably not going to do that well. But you need to go to more than one, like focusing on more than one place, else you're not going to do very well either. So it's like finding things that link up that are going to get you all these points that go with your bonus tiles as well. So it's just a lot of planning, really, I think. I just love it. I love it. I love dropping the little pegs off as well.
Yeah.
When you get a nice big massive group, then you get to go like drop them all around. Just
and the length of the round as well is dictated by that, based on how many spaces you drop things off. This marker rotates around here, and when it's gone round a certain number of times, that's what triggers the end of the round. And every time it makes a loop, it reveals one of those things that you need to have ready by the end of the round as well. Yeah. You get points advancing that, but then the person who's in charge in the Senate gets a special scoring tile for the end of the game, and second place gets it, but on its not as good side, and everybody else gets nothing. Yeah, probably it's the best Steffenfeld, probably because of that Mancala as well. Like, it's designed some fantastic games, and a load of Roman games kind of lately. Was the year before last now, where it's Forum Trajanum and Carpe Diem.
Maybe it's his area of expertise.
Yeah, and Bonfire is coming this year as well. That while it's not got a Mancala or anything like Trajan, we were saying after I did a playthrough on the Gaming Rules channel, and we were saying after that it is kind of that point salady Steffenfeld of, well, loads of them are point salads, but of having these different areas on the board that kind of all come together at the end. So I think you might like that. That's coming out later this year, but I don't think it's going to eclipse Trajan.
No, probably not. Trajan's got a little special place in my heart.
That's number 2.
Yeah.
And finally, number 1.
Middara.
So Middara is a game that came out last year. It's a Kickstarter game. I'm not sure if you can get it on wide release yet, but it's another great big dungeon crawl game that's kind of more in the kind of dice chucking Ameritrash style of games that generally, well, I think it's the only one on your list that isn't really a Euro game. But yeah, We're mostly going around dungeons, chucking dice to see if we fight things. But there's more to it than that. There are symbols on the dice as well that you can spend across equipment that you've got. It's got a ton of variability in the amount of characters, the ridiculous amount of enemies in it, the ridiculous amount of equipment. Every character's got like a progression tree that they will unlock new abilities as they level up and things. It's got really fantastic minis. Not that it's that much of a... It's not going to swing the game for us, but it's definitely lovely. It's got a really nice art style, and especially the book, and this could kind of be a Marmite thing for you, the scenario book has, all of the dungeons in there, but in between many of those dungeons is a huge amount of story, and there is I think there's an app now. It was just sound files you downloaded when we were playing the first act, but there's an audiobook version of it basically where the story sections could be like 10-20 minutes in between scenarios. So I can completely understand why people didn't like that, but we really, really enjoyed that element of it. And it's kind of the gameplay and certainly the story is kind of informed by JRPG video games, like the Final Fantasies and stuff. And we start out, we're all at school going for our final exam in this dungeon that is, acts as a tutorial for the game, but it's things are tamer because they're at school, and things go wrong and story happens. And that's the combination of it's got a lot more going on and a lot more variety than other dungeon crawlers that we've played that are similar. And it's got a huge, ridiculous storybook as well. So Rach,
I like the
what's
story
so good about Middara?
Well, the story definitely is part of it. It's like really been thought through, and the characters that you start off with, it's all about them, and they're part of the story. It's not just a random class that comes in. You're these 4 students of this school that have got to work together, and they know each other, don't they? And they're from these prestigious families, well, some of them, and they've got to work together to do these trials, and it's just like a really nice story.
Yeah, because it's that set story, and you are playing those characters at the start anyway. The story is about those specific characters rather than... So they've all got, personalities. It's not like, say, the Gloomhaven way of playing it is there's tons of story and stuff, but it has to be applicable
Doesn't matter who you are.
It has to be applicable to everybody because the game can't know who you are at that time, although there are, event cards that'll reference who you are sometimes. Whereas Middara is, scripted from the start in terms of the story that you are these characters and these characters are these particular personalities, and so the story is written for you. It is, you are reading a kind of I don't know, it's not quite a short story, but a significant amount of story about these particular characters from the beginning, really. And that's probably going to make rather than just saying, oh, that's too much story. It depends whether you're invested in the characters. I think that was a huge thing about Middara itself when we played it, is that we were really invested in those characters. We wanted to see what was going to happen. We wanted to see what was going to be in the next dungeon. We wanted to see what we would unlock. Because Middara as well, like Gloomhaven, it's got a load of secrets, a load of sealed things, a load of hidden stuff to find, and just a huge amount of content as well. I don't know if the box is quite as big because it's a great big long box for Middara, but you can check out the playthrough. I think I did it of the very first scenario in that, where I showed off some of the stuff. It's one of the only games that I've painted things for.
Yeah.
I've lost all of that practice now. That was a while ago. But Middara over everything else, Rach.
Yeah, and it's got nice equipment, and it's all about dice as well, and going through the dungeons, and there's holes that you can fall down as well, but you can push enemies in there, or they can put. You've got to be really careful about placing where you are, and you can get trapped, and then you're probably gonna die because the enemies were quite strong. Obviously, it's just
the enemies work nicely as well. That they've got a rather than. So Gloomhaven's got these AI cards that are a great way of randomizing what they're going to do, and Middara had just kind of a decision tree to do. If this is the case, they're going to do this. If not this, then this. And you get it's probably a lot to begin with, but you get used to, oh, it's this enemy. This enemy does this. Like, especially, again, it was another game that we had out pretty much permanently for...
I think the difference, like, obviously the games are different, and I love the story of Middara probably more than Gloomhaven's story. But I would, if we had the time, I would definitely play Middara again. I'd happily pick that back up and start from the beginning. And I wouldn't, I'd be happy to do that. Whereas I think, again, like I said with Gloomhaven, it feels harder to do.
We have done that with Gloomhaven. We have done we've done the start of Gloomhaven probably about 3 times now.
Yeah, but I really wish that we had more time to play Middara. I would love to play more of that.
Well, we've played. Is it chapter 1?
All of chapter 1, and then I think we started 2.
We did a few sessions of chapter 2, but it's like when we say chapter, it's a huge chunk of game. A chapter of Middara. So I think that was about a third of Middara, and that's Act 1. This great big box is Act 1, and there's been a successful Kickstarter for Acts 2 and 3 as well. So yeah, if you get into Middara, there's a ridiculous amount to play with as well.
Yeah.
But that's why.
It just looks so nice as well. The artwork's fantastic.
Yeah, especially
it's my kind of thing.
We both like JRPGs, and you especially are a huge fan of Final Fantasy games, of all Final Fantasy games as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely has that thing to make it click for you as well. Definitely. So that's your favourite game of all time.
Yes.
And there we go. Finally, didn't think it could happen, Rach, but we've done Rach's top 10. So there we go. If you would like to vote for more top 10, you can suggest, anyone can just suggest topics as well. Okay. Rach might come back.
But please be easy on me. It's taken a year to do this.
Yeah, Rach might come back for another topic in another year. But what would you like to know from Rach? But we are doing, it's too late to tell you now, we'll have done the Q&A in the past, but we do Q&As, try to do them monthly, where Rach appears as well. And Rach sporadically appears in playthroughs from time to time as well. So watch out for her in those.
After much coercion.
Yeah, that has to be. But thank you very much for watching this. If you'd like to see more, watch those things that I just said. But Kitchen Rush is probably one of the best playthroughs that we've done. Real-time Sand Timer games. Yeah, that was a really good one. But thank you very much for watching this, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye, everyone.
See ya.